Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spock Convention with the Weekly Comic Book Roundup. We've gone through most of this week's books. Now, final stretch. This week's Avengers-related books, and the rest of this week's DC books. Kicking things off, we've got Black Knight, Curse of the Ebony Blade, number 5. So where we left off, Mordred had taken the ebony artifact aside from the Ebony Blade and reforged him into the Ebony Crown. Also, it seemed that Dane, Black Knight, was about to die as he had been mortally wounded and was not holding the Ebony Blade. So, the issue opens with a handful of people, or people throughout the world are, people. Everyone's having bad days. We all have bad days, and these people are reaching out for help when something clicks and they begin feeding Mordred with their feelings. Turns out that he set the Listener app for this exact purpose. It was all part of his scheme. And yes, the Listener app is exactly what Dane is making his final confession to. But we finally learned who Ashmia is. Who Ashmia is? Who's the woman that Dane has constantly been thinking about. But he basically, sometimes you got, asking for help isn't a bad thing. But anyways, Ashmia is, was his high school girlfriend, and he explains it as, before Cursed Swords and Avengers, two dumb kids who assumed nobody ever loved anyone more. While he's explaining this, though, apparently Jax, who was seemingly killed in the last issue, is back to life and wielding the Ebony Blade. But yeah, Dane continues. Ashmia got cancer. Her folks found a specialist in London, so the whole family moved over there, and apparently Ashmia got on one knee and asked Dane to come with her. He said that he booked tickets. He goes on to explain he booked tickets, got a passport, bought a ring, read books on supporting people through illness, did everything except for show up at the airport. And it was she understood, he had never had, his grades in school had never been great, and suddenly they were, and he had friends, and they would wait for each other and try to make it work. They didn't, and well, he didn't at least, and she was dead inside a year. However, then Dane starts telling Mordred that he is aware that the Listener app was set up by him. That's what the Ebony Chalice showed him. And he's explaining the whole thing. Basically, why it is that Jax is apparently able to be resurrected by the Ebony Blade. Because she's Dane's daughter. But so, yeah, she takes down Mordred with an assist at the end from also Bloodstone, who has returned. Mordred is sent back to where the truth of the inconvenient truths of Arthurian age are kept. The wasteland. And he does admit that hey, Mordred got a bum deal. No matter how well no matter how you spin and try to sanitize the Arthurian legend, Arthur was not a good dad to Mordred. But a week later, Dane is working on something, turning the ebony crown into something new. And Elsa decides she's going to take his atomic steed. But then Jax shows up. Apparently, first off, what he's made is the Ebon Siege. And it's explained that it shows you things. Takes you places. The past, other worlds, truths and lies. But Dane sits in it and says, the sky falling over London, the witch breed clad in ghost armor, the hungry place. But, yeah, so Jax shows up, and she's made a new helmet for the Black Knight. One that completely covers the Black Knight's face. The idea being one of them goes out, swings the sword, saves the world, while the others sits there guiding. Then they swap. No one knows who's under the helmet. No one needs to know. And she ends up by saying, 2 broken people, 1 hero. And the issue ends by somebody stating that the Black Knight will return. Courtesy of the Ebony Blade was a nice Black Knight mini. I actually that's actually a really neat way to I like the idea of there basically now being 2 Black Knights to share the load of the Ebony Blade, so to speak. It definitely gives the idea of asking for help, basically, which is something that a lot of us everyone at various points needs to do, either with for various reasons. Sometimes just ask someone to listen. But anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Black Widow #9. Where we'd left off, while going after Apogee, while Natasha and Yelena went after Apogee, well, one of Apogee's hired henchmen electrocuted Yelena. We pick up right where the last left off. No breath, no pulse, no heartbeat, nothing from Yelena. But Natasha engages all the little hidden things in her suit, manages to take out Apogee's henchman, and then Lucy shows up and basically uses herself as a defibrillator and brings Yelena back. So the trio get out of there, head back to base, where they find Anya waiting in her Spider-Girl costume. So they figure clearly she's broke her cover, or her cover's gone. But the scientists they caught in the last issue, they explain what happened, and showing off the remains of their last powered guest. And so they do some brainstorming. Craig and Lucy are going to be working together on an antidote for what Apogee's done. That Yelena, Anya, and Natasha are, of course, going after Apogee, who is having a mega dosing for his cult. But Lucy and Craig talk about things. Apparently, the kitchen is doubling as the lab. The Spider and the two widows go out. They make it to Apogee's little get together. Yelena is everything. Personally knocks down, takes out the cultists she can, as do Anya and Natasha. However, Apogee activates his own powers and hulks out and flames on all at once. And that is where the issue ends. This book is great. It's easy to see why it's easy to see why the creative team behind it got an Eisner Award this past weekend for it. A very well deserved Eisner Award, I might add. So yeah, I've been loving the title. It's always a great read, and there are nice little. There's synergy between it, and it's interesting to me that Black Widow movie came out not even a month ago, but Yelena and Natasha have already had that kind of relationship going before that. That of course, there is a distinct possibility that editorial told Kelly Thompson when she was, working on this, hey, try and have Natasha and Yelena have a relationship like this, but still. And it's distinctly possible that, she can't mum on it, but whatever. It's good. It's fun. It makes for good synergy between the Black Widow movie and the Black Widow comics. Moving on to our next book, we've got United States of Captain America, #2. Where we left off, somebody had stolen Cap's shield, and so Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson went in search of it. First running into a young man named Aaron Fisher, self-proclaimed Captain America of the Railways. Aaron was shot, not like shot, but still he took a bullet. His wounds were attended to, but he went back on the rails. While Sam and Steve continue their search for the shield. So we begin at Gettysburg battlefield with Cap looking it over and remembering when he was a Boy Scout and his scout troop went to Gettysburg. Apparently he was 10 years old and he had to pee. He almost did so at the park, but was told by a park ranger where the latrines were. But him and Steve and Sam have a lead on the shield thief, as well as another Captain America, a young woman of color by the name of Michelle Wright, who's been arrested for in conjunction with a burst pipe. So in Harrisburg, the two caps are surveying the burst the damage. Two of Michelle's neighbors come out, and one of them thinks it's good that she's been arrested. The other one knows what it is Michelle's doing. Hey, she's protesting. She's doing what she can to help people. And yeah, sometimes she suits to help people. She dresses up in her own homemade Captain America suit, and has to bust a few heads. While Sam and Steve are looking over everything, however, the shield thief arrives and attacks the two Caps. While a red-haired gun woman takes a shot at Sam, getting him through the shoulder, and stating that the next shot will sever the spinal cord between the C1 and C2 vertebra. Sam gets his wound taken care of, and they go to find out about Michelle Wright. One of the officers at one of the deputies at the local sheriff's department, however, doesn't have a problem with the fact that that the only person they've arrested for what happened with the water was the same black girl that was protesting to make sure that water that it wouldn't be polluted. Sam doesn't take that too well and tosses the guy into the door, but Steve and Sam bust Michelle out. And to be fair, the rest of the department seems to not mind. But the shield thief and his partner show up. And while they do escape, Michelle explains to the Caps that she appreciates the save, but she's got to take care of things in her hometown. And we learn that we don't yet have the identity of the shield thief, but we know the identity of his partner, Cynthia Sin Schmidt, aka better known now as Sister Superior, making for a nice parallel between the end of Ta-Nehisi Coates' run on Captain America and United States of Captain America. We then get a backup story focusing on Michelle. Sadly, she is now a fugitive, but she's still trying to help people. A couple of would-be armed robbers. One of whom is the son of one of the local cops. Get taken down by her. However, of course, cops are called, and she does manage to get away. And turns out she's got community support. Ensuring she'll always have a place to stay, food. Basically, she's going to be kept safe from anyone trying to hurt her, trying to bring her down. And she sends a brief message. She gets a text from Aaron Fisher. Also, throughout the backup story, we learned that she was a gymnast in college. In fact, one of the people that's come to the show to help her is her old gymnastics coach. But yeah, that's where the issue ends. It's an okay. It's not a bad Captain America story. It's just I don't know. The introduction of the Captain's Network is actually kind of a neat idea, and I do hope that it gets further. That it does get fleshed out more in future Captain America ongoings, and also just utilized more. Hell, you could probably, in all honesty, there'd probably have to be a big story that utilized it, but you could probably do something with Captain's Network like DC did with Batman Inc. years and years ago. But anyways, moving on to a holdover from last week, Justice League number 65. So, this would have been part of last week's roundup, except for the fact that the shop didn't get the B cover. So, and I do prefer these cardstock variants from DC as opposed to the regular covers. If Marvel did the same thing, I'd probably get those as well. And I'd probably buy less comics. or I'd find something to, I don't know. Anyway, so where we left off, a apparently a hitman was going after Black Canary and Green Arrow, and revealed themselves to be working for Checkmate. Well, maybe not so much working for Checkmate, but involved with Checkmate, and outed Oliver's involvement in the new Checkmate to Black Canary. Turns out this guy's former member of Argus, codenamed Damon Rose, and he's Lois Lane's brother. However, while they're trying to verify this, however, there's an explosion. Turns out that they've been attacked by Deathstroke. Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice, the cosmic villain that the United Planets was afraid of has shown up and is causing a ruckus. Superman's holding him off. The League is trying to evacuate civilians from the Hall of Justice. The Wonder Twins get involved. Yeah, and basically an all alerts beacon is sent to the Justice League members. But yeah, the Hall of Justice takes its lumps, that's for sure. Meanwhile, however, as Green Arrow, Black Canary, and Damon Rose are taking on Deathstroke, it's revealed it's not Slade. But Rose shoots him, hitting him in the shoulder, causing him to shoot and at least knock out Black Canary. Fires again, takes down Rose, and while one gun gets an arrow stuck in it, the other one fires and seemingly takes down Green Arrow as they're receiving their call to arms for the Justice League Hall of Justice emergency. And that's where the A story ends. Then we get Justice League Dark backup, where we left off there. Elnara was in Gotham and had found what was his name? Randir Singh being held by a group and basically being used as a psionic weapon of sorts. But he explains that basically his mind is kind of shattered apart. And he's dreaming 1,000 dreams all at once. Batman helps Elnara get into the simulation. She finds Singh and does manage to rescue him. And the idea being they're now going to go after the elder versions of himself throughout to bring them down so he can pull his way out. In Atlantis, however, an Amhulus has shown up. An Amhulus being a long extinct aquatic beast. This Amhulus, however, is under the control of none other than Merlin. And who should show up to take Merlin on? But Aquaman and Justice League Dark. And that is where the issue ends. Both stories are really good. I'm looking. I am kind of kicking myself now for not having gotten into Event Leviathan, let alone Checkmate, but oh well. Um, with Justice League Dark, things are definitely getting interesting there. I honestly just wish Justice League Dark had their own ongoing. I don't really see why DC decided that Justice League Dark should just be a backup story for Justice League. It should be its own ongoing series, but whatever. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Infinite Frontier number 3. Where we left off, Metropolis military base seemingly exploded due to Captain Atom, possibly taking Cameron Chase with him. Roy Harper, while trying to find out more about the Black Lantern ring he had, discovered that his daughter Leanne was alive, but he also Black Lanterned out was summoned in somewhere. And the search for Jade continues. And Justice Incarnate went to Earth 22 to investigate a piece of a shuttle that had crashed there. So, starting off with Green Lantern and Obsidian looking for Jade, questioning various enemies of the JSA, Kronos, Grundy, Icicle, Gentleman Ghost, Shade, finally, who is like, hey, I had nothing to do with it. They actually question him. They're not busting his head. But he also explains, though, that it's not one of Alan's enemies, but rather an enemy of Obsidian and Jade's. Roy, he's able to recover his Black Lantern himself again, but he's now in space. And at first he's thinking, okay, well, I'll make a construct of a spaceship and fly back to Earth. And I was like, whoa, no, last time I did it turned me into a zombie. And hey, I'm in space. If I just hang out here, surely someone will come by, right? And someone does. On Earth 22, the members of Justice Incarnate are able to explain themselves to Magog, and they say, "Hey, we're trying to get these pieces of this shuttle have popped up throughout the multiverse. We're just trying to make sure that we want to figure out where they came from." President Superman notes that something about it, however, seems to harken back to his Earth, Earth 23. The Flash, who's been taken prisoner by Darkseid and Psychopirate, is being psychically manipulated by Psychopirate while running through basically a giant hamster wheel. In Bloodhaven, at the Command D bunker, Alan Scott and Obsidian make their way in. Turns out that Obsidian's boyfriend knows someone that maybe Alan might be interested in, and suggest a possible double date. But they run into Director Bones. Well, they find Director Bones, who's loading prison cells onto a giant shuttle. A carrier arc, as he calls it. And they're attacked by one of Bones' hench people. However, while fighting back, Cameron Chase shows up and seemingly shoots out Alan Scott. back with Roy, it turns out that he's been found by one of these carrier arcs, talking with an agent aboard, Agent Hammond of the DEO. He explains, that after everything, the DEO is about, protecting Earth Zero's interests from multiversal invaders, or as Roy puts it, keeping an eye out for anyone trying to crash their world. And Hammond then adds, or, people who came back from the dead. Turns out Agent Hammond's first name is Hector. And yes, he is Hal's old enemy, Hector Hammond. Apparently, the multiversal reset put him back to factory settings, so to speak. So the carrier arc goes into the bleed, and they're trying to figure out why Roy was chosen for the ring. However, the EO has made a deal with someone for Roy in the ring, but something's going very wrong aboard the carrier, and Roy makes some constructs, but he's also rescued by Infinity Incorporated, namely Jade, Atom Smasher, Damage, Wildcat, and Power Girl. That said, they do kind of see, all they see is a zombie, not, And so Jade simply says, aim for the head. And that is where the issue ends. Okay, so now, kind of know what happened to Jade. She was taken by, potentially speaking, she was taken prisoner by the DEO. As well as have the others. That said, if I remember correctly, one of either an earlier issue of Infinite Frontier or the Secret Files one-shot did mention there being others who were taken as well, and it did kind of line up with who all showed up alongside Jade. So it could be there's a rogue element within the DEO. But if Bones is working on carrier arcs, yeah, maybe not so much. And on to our last book of the week, Strange Adventures, number 11. Where we left off, Mr. Terrific had told Alana Strange that, from what he could tell, their daughter, Adam had basically made a deal to let the Pix, that Alana and Adam's daughter, Aaliyah, was not dead, but rather was a prisoner of the excuse me, of the Pits, and it was basically, to end and that an agreement was reached between Adam and the Pits. The Pits get Adam's daughter, and Ran is spared in favor of Earth. So Adam has returned home, however, and the modern stuff, it's Adam and Alana fighting. The past stuff, it's clearing the last Picts off of Ran. And oh yeah, Alana is, to say the least, pissed. But it's explained that the Picts are keeping Aaliyah on Mars. So the other race that Alana and Adam run into, the Borm, explain that there are Picts left, and they basically, their whole thing is they live in harsh places so that people will leave them alone. And in fact, they actually kind of want to eat Alana and Adam. They especially want to eat the Picts as well. But, so But yeah, so we get the clearing out of the last picks, and then more of the fight between Alana and Adam. And yeah, she's, to say she's pissed is putting it lightly. And she's just like, well, okay, fine. You know where they are? Tell the Justice League. They'll go save her. But Adam says, that's the thing. They'll rush in like the cavalry that they always do, and the Pix will kill her. But Adam draws his gun on her. The argument between the strangers continues. Adam and Alana fight over the gun, and there are two blasts, and Adam's lying on the floor, having been shot in the chest. And that is where the issue ends. That's definitely interesting. I will have added last year's more a case of, okay, how, what are the reactions going to be to this revelation? Well, now we've seen. It'll be interesting to see just what's left to really cover when it comes to the flashback sequences of for Adam. But as the next issue will be the final issue. Anyway, that's it for this week. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.